Virtual Vox.
Virtual Vox.
Hello guys, welcome to Virtual Vox. We are super excited that you're here with us today, and we hope that you've been following along on Instagram at 2:30 every weekday for our daily devotionals. If you haven't already gotten on there, do it soon because we want to interact with you. We want to hear from you. We want to hear what you've been doing and what's on your heart. So also, if you are not currently connected to a leader, please email vox@northcoastcalvary.org and we will get you connected ASAP. We are really excited for what this week has, and let's get to it.
Brought me out of darkness, you have filled me with peace. Give of mercy, real than the ground I'm standing on. You're more real than. You're more real than wind in my lungs. Come on. Your thoughts define me. You're inside me. You're my reality. Oh God, you're my reality. Come on, sing Abba. And Abba, I belong to you. Come on, sing it again. And Abba, I belong to you. You're closer than the skin on my bones. You're closer than the words on my tongue. Come on, your thoughts. Your thoughts define me. You're inside me. You're my reality. Come on. Oh. Sing out, sing it out. And Abba, again. And Abba, I belong to you. Come on, sing it out, Abba. And Abba, I belong to you. I belong to you. You're more real. You're more real than the ground I'm standing on.
Virtual Vox.
Hi guys.
What up? Oh.
Chalupa.
Chalupa says hello. Say hi.
And today we have Miss Erica joining us. Hello.
The one and only.
Virtual Vox coming from live from our homes here.
Oh,
Where we've got represented. I'm representing Vista. Sarah's
Encinitas.
San Clemente. The trifecta.
So far.
Um,
So far, yet so close because traffic is non-existent.
Yeah.
Yeah, 10 minutes out of my commute.
what's the most random thing you've done since you've been bored at home?
Oh gosh. Most random thing? I don't know. I heard about a guy running a marathon on his balcony. I'm not there yet.
Like running in place?
or running
Yeah,
back.
no, literally just running back and forth on his balcony for the entirety of like a total marathon, so whatever that is, 16
That
miles.
cannot be
half
true.
marathon. Google it. Google doesn't lie.
That's some real boredom right there.
I'm not there yet, but I might be
Okay.
getting close.
That's cuckoo.
Somebody
Yeah.
dropped us off a chocolate cake as like a sympathy cake. It was so sweet. And the problem with lockdown is that there's nothing to do but eat.
Oh,
Dude,
eat
yeah.
that cake.
And it was like so good. And I'm all, Julia doesn't eat this cake. Lance isn't around. So I've been like devouring this cake all by myself.
Yeah.
Julia
That's
doesn't
facts right
eat this
there.
cake.
I mean, do you guys feel like, and everybody who's watching, do you guys feel like you've been eating a lot more than usual since you've been quarantined?
Yeah, I want to know what the go-to quarantine snack is.
Yeah.
Oh, mac and cheese all day.
We got mac and cheese too. We never get mac and cheese.
Oh.
Oh, we got for
I'm a
quarantine.
chips and salsa person. I love chips and salsa.
I ran out of chips and salsa.
Ooh. Somebody dropped some on Sarah's doorstep.
Yeah.
And a drone sent to you.
My parents are actually going to senior shopping tomorrow, and they're gonna get some stuff because
Or they
there's
open stores early.
they open the stores early for people over 60. Sorry, Dad. Now they all know how old you are.
If they find toilet paper there, we are like starting to dwindle on our supplies.
Oh, I have some. I will come drive them over. You got it, Jen.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, so everybody else doing okay on toilet paper? Yes? No? You guys
I
doing-
can't share with everyone, but I can share with Jen.
We're there, but we're down to the single ply stuff, and let me tell you.
Oh my gosh.
It's not a good time.
So you guys, today we really hope that you engage in the little live chat on the side here. Jump in there. We want to hear from you. And then a number of you are going to be joining into your Zoom groups to keep the discussion going. So it's a conversation, because that's really important to hang out with each other. We love you.
Yeah.
Today we are going to dive into something that we think is super practical, because I am grateful to be quarantined with my husband and my beautiful daughter, but I can only imagine if I were in high school quarantined with my family that I grew up with my older brother and my younger sister, and my parents who want to watch what they want to watch, or all these wonderful things. I can only imagine what you all must be going through with your siblings running around. So we are going to look at a text that has to do with all of that. So my first question for everybody is, are you guys, how many siblings do you have? Shoot up the numbers on the side there. How many siblings do you have? Who are you quarantined with right now? How many people are in your house? We want to see that.
People in my house. Are pets included in that or no?
No.
If your pets are eating your supplies and annoying you, then I want to count them.
Oh, my pet.
If you're having to share toilet paper with your pets, then they count.
That's right, Jen.
Just the
That's
cat.
right.
Oh, okay. And then the question is,
That was good.
have you guys been more short-tempered with the people in your home right now because of lockdown and being tight quarters? Are you do you get more easily annoyed with everybody around you these days? Yes, no, talk back. How about you guys? Erica, I see you're like,
What? What? This is news to me.
Is it, Rob? Is it news?
I don't know what she's talking about.
He's lucky he's so cute.
I'm thoroughly enjoying my time. I think it's definitely been a little more, I think, tense than usual, but you know, we're getting through.
I think
it's
also
been
having to be in this like a different life stage, yeah. But then also we're living with my parents. So,
Right. And you're working at a hospital.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it's like a lot of
A lot of
stressful
layers.
factors.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we're doing good. We're hanging in there.
Sarah,
Yeah.
are people more tense in your house?
my kids are just really active. So it's just been,
They're savage.
I mean, they're savage. I'm basically like constantly just praying calm prayers, because it's just a lot of like running, jumping, almost pummeling, like lots of like crying, pushing things happening in my house. So I'm trying to like remember that they are just 5 and 2 and that they're boys and they are active and want to play. And so I'm just letting more stuff go than normal. But I'm also like, I mean, I'm like a little short patience. Short patience? Yeah, short on patience. So I'm trying to just like remember that that this is not forever. But yeah, definitely missing. I feel like that is what is making things tense. I feel like my husband Cam and I have been good because we're like happy to see each other. He's still going to work, so it's like when he comes home we're like, hi, wash your hands.
Wow. Makes me wipe down the handles when I walk through the door.
Oh, I wipe everything down when he gets home. Yes.
Actually around
So
COVID,
that I think is like more tense, but we're like, yeah, trying to do well with what we got.
Well, I'm guessing that we're not the only ones who are experiencing like short on patience.
Mm-hmm.
So a great little example of siblings trying to get along. And so we're going to look at the story of Mary and Martha. And it is found in Luke chapter 10, verses 38 through 42. So y'all grab your Bibles and join us there. Eric is actually going to read it so that you guys are all up to speed on what this passage is about. Take it away, girl.
Okay. As Jesus continued on the way to Jerusalem, they came to a certain village where a woman named Martha welcomed him into her home. My sister Mary sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he taught, but Martha was distracted by the big dinner she was preparing. She came to Jesus and said, Lord, doesn't it seem unfair to you that my sister just sits there while I do all the work? Tell her to come and help me. But the Lord said to her, My dear Martha, you are worried and upset over all these details. There is only one thing worth being concerned about. Mary has discovered it, and it will not be taken away from her.
Okay. Now, every time somebody focuses on this passage, in my experience, they basically paint Martha as this crazy villain and Mary as this saintly woman who so clearly gets it right from the very beginning. And this passage feels very obvious that, well, duh, everybody should be like Mary. But I think there's more going on here. So why don't we unpack that a little bit? Sarah, how do you understand the women in this passage? Can you give us a little background?
Yeah. So I used to think about it the exact same way. And so I think when I finally heard it explained differently, it changed my mindset in that of course there's a time to be responsible, and of course there's a time for that. But basically Martha was like, in the Bible, because of the context, there wasn't a lot of naming the women. And Jesus really brought that out and named women and called them to him also, because women, hello, we're great. So just kidding. So there's
true.
Right. But so we're looking at this passage going like, okay, they went to Martha's house, but really Martha was living in this town. It was her house, and there wasn't a man that was over her in her household. So that's contextually, like, that's a huge thing, that a woman was running the household. So they had land, they had like, I think she was probably wealthy, I'm assuming, or at least had the the resources. And Jesus, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he like visited them multiple times. Like they were friends with Jesus. And so he knew them well. He wasn't speaking to Martha. Like when he calls her out on that, he's not speaking to her like, you're in the wrong spot. He's like saying like, no, I want you to come sit with me too. Like, come hang out, you know? So there was this, also on the other side of it, Mary was, kind of like, it was kind of taboo, like for her to be sitting with the disciples, like all these men, like women weren't supposed to be sitting with men at that point. So, for her to be sitting at the feet of Jesus with the disciples, they were probably kind of like, is this okay? You know? And Jesus was saying, yes, this is okay. Yes, a woman can sit and listen at my feet. Like, yes.
That's so good.
And so I feel like it changes it shifts the paradigm of like, we don't need to be, it made it free for Martha to not feel like she had to do her duty, but that she could also enter into a relationship with Jesus and not just serve him in this, like, I have to cook dinner, I have to get the house ready way. If that makes sense.
Because Martha's a really cool woman. She's
Right.
ahead of her time in being a resourceful woman. She's a leader in her area, and she is doing the responsible thing here. So we don't want to categorize her as just this villain. She's actually a really awesome woman who is doing a good job at being the best hostess ever.
Right.
And so I think that that's important for us to realize, because I think a lot of us can identify with that. We are responsible. We understand the task at hand. We understand what needs to happen in the situation, and we are go-getters. And how many of you ever get annoyed when you are a go-getter and you see somebody sitting next to you who's totally slacking? Anybody have a group project ever and you're like, why am I doing all the work? What are you doing slacking? Anybody?
I was
Like
definitely
every group
like
So some of us, I think, I mean, even you guys, who do you identify with most? Do you identify with Martha, or do you identify with Mary? Like when you read this, are you quick to be like, oh, I'm like her? We want to see your answers on the side here. So Mary, Martha, who are you most like? Rob, who are you most like?
I was just gonna ask him too.
That's funny. So I actually, if I'm being totally honest, I think I identify more with Martha, I think, more often than I do with Mary, for a couple reasons.
Really?
Shocking.
Martha over there.
But for a couple reasons. So especially now during, like, you know, the quarantine time, even though I think are getting more physical rest, I think a lot of us are feeling maybe more like emotionally taxed, or like even spiritually taxed. There's something about being in close quarters with people for extended periods of time that really take a toll on you. And I think Martha was kind of at that point of I almost like hear exhaustion in her voice when she's like, Lord, doesn't it seem unfair to you that my sister just sits here while I do all the work? Tell her to come and help me. Like I think Martha knows who Jesus is at this point. She knows that he's, you know, someone special. And so she's looking to him to fix the situation, and really to come and be the cure for her exhaustion. And her idea of that cure was having somebody else come help her, when in reality, I think Jesus hit the nail on the head. And it's like, actually, you don't need something external. You don't need something to come into your situation to come alongside of what you're doing to kind of like fix that. You actually need to remove yourself and just kind of sit with me for a little bit. And so I think in that sense, like, when I start to feel myself getting emotionally exhausted, or just even physically exhausted, like I've just been grinding and grinding and grinding with work or whatever else, it's like, you know, more often than not, if I'm being honest, I'm ashamed to admit, I tend to look for my own solution to fill that gap and to kind of feel refreshed, when really in reality, the solution's so simple. It's just exactly what Mary was doing. It's just sitting at the feet of Jesus.
Right.
So
and
I think,
accepting the invitation to do that. Yeah.
Well, we exhaust ourselves for various reasons, but then there's also this element of comparison. You brought that up a little bit, Rob, that it's really, I think that's detrimental to us. I think that's where we get in trouble. Can you say that a little bit, Erica, Rob, that comparison trap?
Yeah, I took the last one, so I'll let you go for it.
Just growing up with a sister who's 5.5 years older than me. She's
on the wall.
Yeah, she's right there.
So enough said.
Let's just cut.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
No, she's so different than me in so many ways. I call her the brains and I'm the talent.
Okay.
No, she's
humble.
She's brilliant. She's just so smart in areas where I just and then, she's tone deaf and I can sing. So there's it's just so we're just so different, but at the same time we would always constantly find ourselves comparing ourselves to each other, and we always wanted to be like her, or to get the straight A's that she was getting, even though I was more of like a B student and a C student.
Rob's face. He's like, what am
I know her too well.
No, I became an A student. Stop it. It's just it's an easy trap to get into, but it's like growing up and realizing that we had different talents, and how are we going to come together and make this something that we can both add and enrich our lives, be like, oh, you're talented in this way, let's use that to our advantage, and I'm talented in this way, let's use that, and let's come together and try to figure out how we can not necessarily be separated, but come together as a whole and as a family. So
I think that's
I'll let you
so
know.
beautiful, Erica. No, that's super key, because right now some of you guys are fighting with your siblings and you're fighting with people in your households because you're focusing on how things are not fair, because that's what Martha was focusing on. She's focusing on how it's not fair and comparing ourselves to one another, getting annoyed because we see the faults in each other. And I think what you just said, Erica, is really helpful in getting out of that. It's recognizing that there's something about the other person that you can appreciate.
Yeah.
Even if it's different than you, it's something that they bring to the table that makes your family richer. It makes you richer. Maybe your kid brother is the most annoying person in the world, but they're actually really creative and they make you laugh. And you can choose whether to focus on the annoying part, or you can focus on the part that you can appreciate about them. And I think Mary has a lot to appreciate about Martha and how Martha takes care of the house, but Martha has a lot to appreciate about Mary. And if she could pause long enough in her anger and recognize that, I think that's what Jesus does. I think Jesus helps Martha realize you can learn from what Mary's doing, because Mary's realized something really special that will help you in your own life. And I think our families are like that a lot, where there's something about that, there's something that we can be learning from each other. And especially if you are a person that knows Jesus, and if you're able to come to the feet of Jesus and find yourself there, imagine what that can do to your family dynamic. If you will center yourself at Jesus's feet and speak from that place, imagine how the ripple effect that would have in your home.
Yeah.
Can you guys speak to how that's looked like for you guys lately? Because I know it's hard to find ourselves centering on Jesus when you're frustrated, annoyed, and locked up.
I think I've seen it. Oh, sorry. What did you say?
What tips or advice would you have for anybody else on how to find ourselves at Jesus' feet in the midst of this?
Something that I actually I don't know. This is pretty good because it was like yesterday. But Atticus and Merrick are my kids, and Atticus is 5 and Merrick is 2. And it's the constant like, I'm playing with this toy and now you want it thing, right? Or the like, I want to do this and you're doing that and I don't want to do that. And so I tangibly saw like a shift in Atticus after I talked to him about like, hey, this is your brother and this is the person that you get to be with, in relationship with forever. Like, you guys have each other and that's it. So like, listen, if he wants to do something else, ask him to come along with you. See how you can help him. Treat him like you would your best friend instead of looking at him like an annoyance or like a burden or like he's a baby or what, you know, because he just is still that age. So I saw a shift though once he started thinking about it, and he was like, I could see he was like kind of proud of himself for doing it. So he like would be like, come on, Merrick, we're gonna go do this. And he'd look at me and be like, you know, like he's trying to like engage in a way that isn't. I was like, what if Merrick sees it differently than you? Why don't you go try it that way? And he's like, oh, okay. So I think being willing, like a kid is willing to change their heart. Like it's just this like innocent nature. And as we get older, I think that we have this like, yeah, but you know, there's just this like thing in us that doesn't want to change. And so I just looked at that and I was like, man, I wish I was that willing to like shift my perspective all the time. Cause that's like such a beautiful picture of like, oh yeah, if I just turn and see the other side of it, like that, it's a quick turn. Like it doesn't have to take a long time. It's just like a heart posture, I think.
That's so good.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think of like childlike faith, you know, not like childish faith, but like
Right.
childlike faith. And I think you're right. Like the older that we get, I think the more jaded we become, and like the harder it is to kind of step back into that. But like for me, you know, since quarantine, I've found there is like a direct correlation with how much time I get with Jesus, like sitting with him at his feet, you know, in solitude and silence, just me and Jesus, and how I treat other people. And I know she'll attest to it. If she can tell when I haven't spent time with Jesus like that day, because she's like,
your soul is stinky.
Yeah, she's like, your soul is stinky right now. And I'm like, it is. Like, she called me out. Like, and I think the people in our families, like, they know us the best. And so, like, you know, I think that's been like, especially in relation to this passage, like, I don't feel like I'm coming to a point where like I don't have a choice. Like I don't have the luxury of missing time with Jesus. It's like I have to spend time with him at his feet. Otherwise, I am going to be cranky. Like I am going to be like, you know, crabby and snippy. Like, but when I allow him to, in his spirit, to kind of just refresh me, it gets me back into that childlike place where I'm just like, I can see the best in people. Like I can recognize like the strengths and like the things that they bring to the table that that I might not have or that I might have. Like it's just that is yeah. So it's just that's been something that I've been running with.
Such a good. I'm gonna let that kind of be our close because I think that's the heart of this, is that there's a lot of good things we can be doing. There, you might be right about a situation. It might be unfair and you are entitled to pointing that out, or you might, all these things, but I think this passage highlights for us that there is still a better way. There is something that's a higher priority about the situation, and it's the Jesus way. It's finding yourself at Jesus' feet and modeling what he's teaching us. And so in the context of being trapped at home and you have the choice of picking a fight and being right, or choosing love and choosing to come alongside your brother or sister, or choosing grace, choosing to show them compassion, choosing to forgive them in order to love well the way Jesus would love, I say choose the Jesus way.
So good.
Guys, thanks for discussing this awesome, good stuff with us. I'm going to bless you guys. Stay tuned, jump into your Zoom groups. And Lord, I thank you so much that you have put us in an environment where we have a lot to learn from one another, and most of all, tons and tons to learn from you. And thank you for being a good teacher to us, Lord. And thank you for inviting us to sit at your feet, that you turn no one away from coming to you and just being with you. Lord, I pray that you help us to see the busy things, to see the tasks, to see the responsibilities, to see the nitty-gritty little distractions all around us, and help us to lay those down. Help us to realize that there are more important things, and it's you. That our relationship with you, the way you love us and the way you're calling us to love others, that needs to be the loudest voice, the loudest presence, the loudest motivation in our hearts and our lives. So God, help us to be people that follow you well. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Hey guys, we see you next time.